on their own time, one while they're driving, another while they're working out, then you can really help them move the needle. And the goal is progress. It's just little bits at a time, step by step, to understand these kids well enough to learn to manage them and help them learn to manage themselves. That's it. Mm-hmm. And so for providers, referring parents to get support and help before it becomes a crisis, before it becomes really severe. All kids with a diagnosis, the parents should get some training. And then I think the other thing is for providers to pay attention when the parent's coming back, when the parent is looking beleaguered, when the parent is losing sleep, when the parent is still asking 6 months later, and when you see that worried look on their face, they're not just being difficult. There's a reason, and it probably has to do with an underlying something else that we just haven't identified yet that needs to be clarified.
And that's starting where the parents
really taking that energy to pursue it. And it's hard because these kids are really complicated.
Yes, and it takes so much energy. Parents are tired and frustrated, and a parent may have ADHD or anxiety issues. Certainly many of them, I think, doubt whether they're doing well as parents because their kids are having the problem. So understanding where the parent is as far as their discomfort, and parents bring it up, okay, let's look at what may be behind that. Not, gee, well, you must have personal history of problems and family of origin things, so you need therapy. No, they need understanding and coaching.
Well, when I was a parent in that stage and I was referred to therapy, and I did go to therapy, and it wasn't that it wasn't helpful, it just wasn't what I needed. What I needed was a Sherpa. I needed someone to guide me through this process and help me know what questions to ask and about school and about behavior and about medication. I needed wisdom and not just information. I needed to know how to use the information that was out there. And therapy helped me deal with the emotional stuff around how hard it was to have these complex kids and my own complex issues and getting diagnosed as an adult. But it did not help me learn to manage these complex kids. It was coaching that shifted the needle on that for me. And was profoundly changed my way of being in the world.
Definitely therapy.
But I'm a coach, so, But I became a coach because it changed my life before I became a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I could help other parents by doing that. And, so the essential guide, when I wrote that typical parenting book for kids who aren't so typical, it's actually about coaching skills. It's actually about teaching parents a different framework. The medical model says these kids are broken, let's fix them. And the coaching model says they're not broken. Here's what they got. Let's help them learn how to navigate it. And with complex kids, you're dealing with chronic health conditions. You need to take that long-term marathon view. You got to support them in navigating themselves instead of just trying to fix it. And that's nuanced.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think to me, one of the key parts of your book and your approach is, yes, at age 5 and 6 and 7, parents have to be more involved in helping plan out one thing or another. The parent is the executive function, and gradually introduce and give the responsibility to the child in doing those things, so that by age 18, they do have the self-management skills and they're doing things on their own. And they get the responsibility, that didn't work out. Parents can support them in looking at, let's look at a different way to do it. Instead of, you're set for college, good luck. And that's a recipe for disaster, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think we could probably talk for another 2 or 3 hours. But let's
postpone that to another time and wrap this one up.
To be continued. And I would like to do that in terms of 6 months from now, let's look at what other things have come up for clinicians, for parents, for coaches, as far as more knowledge in this area. So, listeners, I know we've talked about a lot of complex issues here, complex kids, complex parents, and the keys are, if as a parent, it just isn't working. It seems like, great, I'm glad to know about this diagnosis, but we aren't. Some things are still really disruptive to family or taking a lot more energy than you think it should. A clinician, if you wonder how come it's not working as well, and realize your child isn't going to be able to identify that as a specific, oh, maybe I have this problem. But they are going to say, I can't make friends. I don't know why I lose friends all the time. That's not just ADHD. It can be some, but it's not only that. So those are clues to look somewhere else.
Exactly.
And my guest today has been Elaine Taylor-Klaus, who's a founder of Impact Parents, online virtual parent coaching groups. He's written 3 books, and the latest one, Essential Guide to Raising Complex Kids, really does put together a lot of things she's learned and thought about and worked with over a number of years. Her website is impactparents.com, and I will have that website and the titles of her book in the information on the podcast. Elaine, thank you so much for coming on the show again. It's always a pleasure to discuss things with you.
Thanks for having me, David. It's always a pleasure for me as well. I really enjoyed the opportunity. And I just want to remind people listening that one step at a time, progress over perfection, we can make a difference.
One step at a time. Thank you very much for listening, and tune in next time. Listen and learn, and I'll be glad to talk again about things in the next show. This is your host, David Pomeroy, host of ADHD Focus. So long.